Hello, all. Today we are pleased to announce that our edTonomy externship YouTube stream. So, my name is Tiffany, and I am the host for today. I am a graduate of TripleTen. I graduated, I think, last year. Boy, it seems like it was just yesterday. I work full-time now as a full stack developer at Scholastic Incorporated. I like unicorns and coffee and really great memes. So if you have any great ones, please feel free to send them to me. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me at my website. And you can find me here with the TripleTen group. Today, we're going to meet with the CEO of edTonomy. It's a startup company which created an all-in-one software for the first teaching management system. And we're going to find out a little bit more about what that means. The system empowers independent educators with a business management platform so that they can reach more students. And then our students from TripleTen met with edTonomy, and they were asked to deliver a built-in widget for the company's platform. We're going to see that presentation a little bit later. And first, we want to talk with Carlo and George. So we're going to talk about our externship program a bit more. In case you're just joining and haven't ever been a part of the externship program before, at TripleTen, our externship programs give students an opportunity to work as a team with real challenges and real company briefs. They showcase their real world projects and their portfolios when they're graduated. Our externship managers, designers, company representatives, all of those work with our students, guiding through the process. The team mimics the traditional work environment that you find in a professional remote team setting. So it's very real, very accurate to what many of us who are working day-to-day experience. Our students, Caifani Filong, Freddie Perez Camacho, Christopher Campos Lopez, Chris Lantigua, Victor Isidro Alexander, and Chris Abreu have prepared a presentation for us, and we're going to watch that with the CEO. So let's go ahead and introduce our CEO first. All right, so here we have Carlo Andro, and is that correct, Andro?
Yes, it is. Andreu.
Okay, good. Andrea. Okay, much better. Let's make sure I get that right. And you are the CEO of edTonomy, and I want to hear more about what you mean by a teaching management system.
Definitely. Yeah, well, just to preface, in 2020, my sister was a classroom teacher. And there was just, a sudden shift in the world and the way we work very quickly with the onset of COVID. And she actually left the classroom, and she wanted to find a way to become an independent teacher that wasn't diminished by the label of tutor. She wanted to find a way to utilize her master's degree. And that's when she stumbled upon a community of private practice teachers. And this is made up of, an onslaught of educators teaching different subjects of different mastery and expertise. But most importantly, they teach separately or independently of public and private school institutions. That can be nature schools, or that can be literacy specialists like Lexa herself. So we banded together, me as a tech consultant, she as a former teacher, and recognized that there was missing an all-in-one software to manage her business. So we banded together to create edTonomy, which is a comprehensive platform for educators looking to launch and grow their teaching businesses. And our platform streamlines administrative tasks, enables curriculum development, facilitates communication with students and parents, and offers essential business management tools. And we hope by leveraging the power of technology that we can empower educators to reclaim their autonomy and build sustainable careers outside of the traditional classroom settings. So yeah, we're at the forefront of the school choice movement, and we're creating opportunities for these educators to build their own successful businesses while still shaping the future of education.
Right on. Before I was a full stack developer, I was a special education teacher and administrator for about 15 years in private in public and in charter schools. So being able to host this event today is, definitely an area close to my heart still.
Absolutely.
In terms of like joining our externship program, can you maybe tell us what kind of led to you working with TripleTen and seeking that partnership out?
Yeah, I actually received a message from Yulia. I don't specifically recall how the connection was made. I think maybe I was a part of a platform, a startup organization. I think maybe I got a direct message there, but Yulia made the first connection, reached out, and just kind of made me aware about Practicum at the time, and taught me about the program. And it just kind of came at a perfect time because we had our first developer, and we are trying to build a multitude of things at the same time.
Oof.
And not only are my sister and I stretched, but our developer is stretched himself. So when we first made contact, it just seemed like a perfect fit. And we wanted to find a way that we could, hand off one of the projects that we had for our developer in an efficient way. And, your team came in at just the right time. And we just knew that, after our first meeting with Yulia, that we could trust you guys to help us out here, and that the team has been really communicative. And yeah, that's really how we came to work with you guys.
That's awesome. I feel like Yulia, who is one of the partners at TripleTen, she is everywhere all at once. She's kind of like the everything everywhere all at once. Um, in terms of our, I know that the load is quite a bit, right? For a startup when you're just starting with the one developer, maybe two, and trying to get things going. I also know that it can be challenging to try and find people who are as bought into the mission and making sure that you're getting a quality product. And so I kind of want to know, like, how was the experience for your development team working with our students, especially when it comes to all of those pieces?
Yeah, I think one of the great things was that we had a lot of calls to kind of align ourselves. I think finding what our requirements are and aligning those was something that was really important to us. And we had some consistent communication in the beginning that really highlighted our goals, our requirements, what we imagine the widget to function or look as, operate as, for our end user, being teachers.
Mm.
And I think that you guys did a really great job at, establishing the communication and the rapport with the team, and with our developer to, understand the knowledge gaps on both ends. I think we have an
Yeah.
understanding of what we would like, and as do you. So I think you guys did a really great job of meeting us in the middle, and, bringing the project to exactly what we had hoped and dreamed for.
Oh, that's great to hear. So can you tell us then maybe a little more about what did you ask our students to create?
Yeah, so we asked for a support or a chat widget within our application. So originally, our idea was we have our end users, and there is a bit of the platform just launched in May, for some context, and we have the basic foundation set up for customer support and our customer care, as we like to call it. But we wanted to bring that to the next level. We wanted our users to know that they were being assisted or had assistance in real time, along with a proper introduction to the software. So we imagined this widget being kind of both of those things, being a way that our end users can communicate with us about issues that they see, but also when they first sign up, they have kind of a mini hub that they can go to get started. That would be the getting started checklist that was incorporated into the requirements, along with the live chat feature, and the sticky buttons that allow them to reach out to our care email quite quickly, and also express any dissatisfaction or satisfaction with the product, with the ratings. That's a really important feature. I think being able to quickly communicate that the issues or the bugs that they might encounter on the day-to-day that's now a feature that's workable in this chat widget. So it's
Oh,
enabling
great.
real-time communication, you know, expressing things that they're happy with or not so happy with, really understanding our end users. And that's what's so important about this widget.
And can you just remind everyone that's watching, your end user, I know a lot of people might think your end user is the teacher, but in your case, the end user is not the teacher here, right?
No, it would be the teacher. So we
Oh, it is. Oh, I'm so
yes.
glad we cleared that up then.
Yeah, so our end user actually isn't the parent and student interfaces. I mean, in the future, that may be a piece of the software, but we're really a teacher first software. So we're here to empower educators to run their business, be entrepreneurs with ease. So
Right
everything
on.
they're doing in our software is managing their business, from invoicing, scheduling, registration, and automating communications with the parents regarding progress of their students. But that chat widget would be operated by a teacher who, say is sending an invoice and maybe they noticed a bug. They'd be able to, enter into this chat widget, either have a real-time communication with us, or they can send us an email, or even express their dissatisfaction with the invoicing feature.
Okay.
So
So it's
yes,
for the teachers to communicate with your team or ask questions, perhaps.
right.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a pretty big task. So, Josh, you were the mentor. You're also one of our tutors here at TripleTen. I know that you've been with the TripleTen for quite a while. Josh has been a tutor since I was in the program too, so I'm very familiar with him. And he's definitely got tons of experience working as a software engineer, for a variety of different companies, public companies, private companies. He is one of my favorite tutors personally, so that's pretty awesome that he is still a part of the team. But now you're also doing, Elia, you're doing the mentoring for this program as well. So how did this go for you in terms of like organizing such a big ask from Carla's team?
Yeah, I thought this was actually one of our smoother projects that we've delivered
Cool.
through the APA program. It's been pretty straightforward the whole time, and the students have been fantastic this round, and they're really, I feel like they just nailed it. They did a really excellent job.
That's awesome. How many people were on our team again?
Um, should be, I can't remember if it was 5 or 6. I lose count because like 3 of
I
them are
think
named
it's
Chris.
six. Oh, yes, that's true. Yes. Yeah, six it looks like we have total.
Yeah, sorry.
And are they all about in the same skill bracket, or are they all starting in different places?
Yeah, typically they can be anywhere after like the 10th sprint in the program. This time around, I think they were all pretty close to the end of the program, so they're all kind of in the same skill bracket.
Fantastic. And what did it look like for you in terms of a cadence around meeting with students and helping them kind of organize those sprints for the project?
Yeah, so I've got kind of a routine down for these projects now where I help with the initial setup and guiding them towards, this is how we should run this project. We have biweekly stand-ups where we just check in and see how things are going, check in on what people are working on, what they're having trouble with, anything that they need help with. Obviously we do asynchronous mentoring as well, but just kind of meeting up to check in person and see what dependencies we have on each other. This time around, the way that we broke out the stories were there were a lot of components that were dependent on other components being built, so that
Oh, interesting.
one person was building a button that was going to be used in a modal that somebody else was building. And so, having those meetings to kind of map out those dependencies and when each thing was going to get finished was really helpful.
Oh, that's a really great experience for sure. I know that's something that I experience in my day-to-day work is dependencies, right?
Yep.
Now, how did you teach or support the student in tracking all of those tasks, especially with so many dependencies?
Yeah. So we use Jira for our we have a project board in Jira that we create tickets, and there's acceptance criteria for them, and we link the issues together to figure out which ones are it's very much like a real project.
Yeah, that sounds exactly like day-to-day, the day-to-day grind. In terms of your kind of like you've done a few of these, right? But what is your favorite part about this process and working with our students on these externships?
That's a great question. I think there's a really interesting leap that students have to take when they do one of these projects, where they've they've done a lot of work through the program on their own, and they've built a full web application end to end, but they've never worked on a team. They've never worked with ambiguous requirements from stakeholders, that where they're just given like a broad ask and they have to interpret that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different asks. They've never worked on a team before where they have those dependencies that they're having to juggle back and forth, and so there's a really interesting leap seeing them make that transition and helping them out with that and figuring out like what works and what doesn't work, and like understanding that it's not enough to just get your work done. You have to make sure that it's going to integrate with the work everybody else is doing. And so there's a tricky part of that I really enjoy being a part of.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, we're gonna go ahead and transition now. It's time for us to do our big world premiere reveal of the presentation from the externship group of students. So the team recorded this already yesterday, so we haven't seen it yet. So we are gonna watch it all together live and get to ooh and ah as one big family. So Leah is gonna go ahead and start sharing now, and she is gonna get it going.
Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing all right. My name is Christopher Campos, and together with a team of 5 other developers, Chris Lantigua, Chris Abreu, Victor Isidro, and Kufami Fialao, we managed to create an in-app widget for the edTonomy website. And in a few moments, a few videos will play displaying each of our components and how they work. And I hope it meets your guys' expectations.
Hello, my name is Christopher Abreu. I'm one of the developers who worked on delivering a new feature for edTonomy, an educational platform. For this project, we were provided with a Figma design and guidance on key libraries to use as the foundation of the project. During this project, we worked as a team. We had meetings twice a week for stand-ups, and we divided the project in smaller tasks using GitHub projects. Then it was assembled together. We each took responsibility for building a component or multiple components. The first task that I was assigned to do was the form component. The form component was designed in a way that is easy for the user to create questions and inputs. All this goes in the same component. As we check in the code, we can see I created first the for component that takes a non-submit function. I use, in this case, for this component, the React hook form that provide us with a handle submit function and register function, which is really handy. I created a form that takes area that is a namespace from the form component that takes 4 props on which ID will be the ID of input, and label text will be the question, and the placeholder will be the placeholder inside the input field, and register to register the answers on each input. So if the user wants to create a new text area, the only thing they gotta do is pass the question they want and the placeholder they want. And we can do submit. Right now, this can be edited. And right here, they can put whatever they would like to do on submit. I was assigned to do a chat container as well. Right now, this is just a frame with 2 buttons to go back to the previous section they were in chat now. That once the user starts a chat service in here, is supposed to start chat. this experience has been great for me. I've learned a lot. The stand-up calls, the teamwork, the new technologies that I learned to develop this project for edTonomy will help me in the future in my career. And as a person, as a professional, I've learned a lot to how to face problems and how to solve problems and how to help others and ask for help to develop this amazing web applications.
Hi, this is Kufami. I'm going to present about the widgets container components. So in these components, we have the support button. And when we click on this button over here, it's gonna show up these widgets. And then after 3 seconds, it's gonna show up another widgets over here. So the containers, this container gonna contains another components like the another buttons, the stop by chat button, email support button, and yes, and you can click on this to close these widgets. And yeah, this is pretty much what I have done so far.
My name is Victor Alexander. I was one of the students working on the edTonomy project for the support widget. More specifically, I was working on the buttons for the support widget that would be used for a variety of different methods, as well as have a variety of different looks. So here you can see the button folder here. As you can see, we start off. I started off here with the base button component. Noticeably, it has the on-click prop, as well as the class names to style, as well as any additional elements through the children prop. And the href prop that it will be used for the buttons that involve links. And then any additional ones using the using REST. Here, it first checks to see if the button that is being used has a link associated with it. In which case it does, we return a link with the href prop linking to where we need it to go. Otherwise, we just turn a typical button element with type button as well as all the other necessary props. More specifically, we then get into the two main different buttons that we use here, the buttons that have an icon associated with it and buttons that have a link associated with it. The main difference here is that the ones with the icons demonstrate that they both, one, use the base button component and have similar styles as shown here with the button, as well as images to show off the icon, as well as any additional text that is displayed on the button. Next, we have the buttons with link, which is not dissimilar from the button with icon, but with a few notable differences. One, we have multiple lines of text that are associated with our different styles, as well as a different layout structure regarding the images and the div elements. Notably, it should be noted that this button icon uses the href. Here we get to more specific examples of the ways we use the reusable button element. One, we have the primary button, the secondary, as well as all the radio buttons. And it's at this point, I will just go ahead and demonstrate to you what it looks like in Storybook. Here you can see the different bus cases. For the first example of the button is the button with icon. Here we have an icon, as well as the text, as well as a hover element that shows when it's darker when you hover your mouse over it. Here we have the buttons with link, which is, again, similar to the buttons with icon, but these have a link prop to it. The same as that. This one, same as before. Here we have the primary button in action, which shows it to be very flexible in which we can style the styles. A outline button that shows on hover element, as well as the radio buttons here that show 1 when it's not selected, and 2 when it is selected. Same thing with the radio buttons here. And then the buttons in action here, where it actually does stuff. So that was what I worked on, the reusable button component, and I hope that it will be very useful for the edTonomy developers here, and I will pass it off to the next person.
My name is Chris, and I'm responsible for developing the MPS pop-up and the questionnaire for the article component.
So here's the article with the questionnaire. If the user selects yes, then the feedback is automatically submitted. However, if the user selects no, then a text box appears where the user has to type in something before anything can be submitted. And this is the MPS form model. When the model appears, the user is asked to rate the platform from a scale of 1 to 5 by clicking on one of the buttons here. And keep in mind, this is required before the submission. After that, then the user is then asked if they would recommend edTonomy to a friend. If the user presses yes, then the feedback is able to be submitted. However, if the user presses no, then the user must explain why wouldn't they recommend edTonomy to a friend. After that, then the feedback can be submitted. And this button here closes the model. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Right on.
Ready?
That was pretty amazing.
This component needed to be flexible so that you could add as many checkboxes as you needed. The checkbox itself, I needed to change the default style of it because the default style is that it would be square, and if it was checked, it'd be blue and it'd have a check in the middle. So I made some adjustments with Tailwind CSS so that it'd be circular, and the color would be gray. It'd also be gray when it'd be filled in, and the check mark would not be visible. So when you hover over the checkbox, the color changes. And if you click on the title or the label, whatever you want to call it, the link would be the value from the href or article prop, depending on how you code that. And the on-change prop would differ based on the is checked value. So when we do click the checkbox, the is checked value should be true. And in this case, when we click on it, boom, the hovered color is gone, the checkbox color is filled in and it changes, the text color changes and it is also crossed out, and the chevron image changes as well. And yeah, then the user just goes down the list, does the same thing, clicks on the link, takes them to the part of the page or the app, and then they come back and then they click on it, and now they know, okay, I'm done with these 2 steps, and then they just keep going down. So it's nice that this is highlighted each time they are trying to do any of the steps. And yeah, it's all thanks to conditional rendering that it can change between these kind of states. But yeah, I learned a lot from this, working as a team, everyone was working on their different branches, different components, and it was really cool seeing how it all just came together and how we were able to make it all just work together. I was new to using Tailwind, and that was kind of overwhelming in the beginning because I didn't know how to, I didn't know exactly which style to apply, and I had to do a bit of research. So that was an experience I had to overcome. And then the storybook as well. I've never used that before, and it's nice that I was able to make a visual aid here so that you could see all this working, and also Java unit testing. I've never done that before as well, and it was interesting to make some kind of like test so that it would make sure, hey, if this component should be rendered, and when a checkbox is checked, the value of the on-chain should be is checked. And yeah, just overall learned a lot of things. So thank you for this opportunity, and yeah, thanks so much.
Hey, my name is Christopher Campos, and I was tasked with creating the modal with video component, as well as creating some additional form components, which included making a namespace for the submit button and creating a radio button that can be used as a group as well. I'm going to start with the modal with video component. You can click on this, it opens the modal. There's 3 ways you can close this modal. You can either press the escape key, you can click on the overlay, or you can click on this button on the top right and it'll close the modal. I added a YouTube embed just to display that it works. Press pause, mute, all the normal controls. You press full screen and it'll full screen. And all the YouTube functionality works. It is also set to when you close the modal, it resets it to thumbnail mode. When you press on the video, it'll start off right where you were. I'm going to now move over to the form. I was in charge of making the radio buttons and making sure that you could add them in a group. And just to add this namespace of submit button right here. This is a normal submit button. But this group is all radio buttons. When you click on one, the selected prop will activate. And it'll apply any classes that you want. Let's say I wanted to click on this 4th button. When I submit it, you can see here that it does indeed click on that button itself, and it'll know which radio button was selected. The way I did this component was I first made a radio button component. It's a button that conditionally renders an image. If you do want to add an image, if you don't, it won't render the image. It'll just be a button with text like so. And this is the selected version. Again, we only add a border here to display that it is selected, but you can do anything you want with it. It is not set to any specific thing. And the way I made the radio button group is I went over here and made a map function. So it'll create as many cards as there are in the options prop. So this is the function itself, and this is it in practice. When you want to make a radio button group, you make a form.radio button group namespace and place it inside a form component. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to options and then add as many values as you want there to be radio buttons in your form. And that is all you have to do. All the functionality is already there when it comes to selecting the buttons themselves. Yeah, just want to thank you guys for the opportunity of letting me work here. It's been really fun, good learning experience. I hope all goes well with your future endeavors, and thanks again.
Hello again. Thank you for watching our presentation for the in-app widget for edTonomy. Again, we were 6 developers working on this project, and it was an invaluable experience to each and every one of us. We hope our project met your expectations or even went above and beyond. And if you have any more questions about the project, any modifications, anything like that, you can reach out to us in Discord. Thank you.
So rad. I am just such a fan of the radial group that has the visual imagery there of the like, well, it's kind of like a Riker scale, right? The pain management scale of like how happy are you to unhappy. I just love that, especially the way that they went through and did it as a map feature. Super cool. So before I ask like super technical questions to Josh, Carlo, tell me like, what do you think? Having seen the kind of full project now. Oh, Carlo, you're on mute.
So sorry.
Somebody mark that off on their bingo.
Yeah, no, we're so happy. We're so happy with the result. And to be fair, it was so fast. We were surprised by how quickly, we went from beginning of project to completed product, with, outstanding results. It's exactly what we asked for and more, so I think it's just been a wonderful experience working with you guys, and very surprising to see the turnaround, and the quality of the product for the amount of time. So
that's awesome. In terms of like next steps for the project or for you and the company, like what's next?
Yeah, we're actually moving into a launch period for a piece of our product, a newer product for a cohort of independent schools, micro schools, and charter schools. So it'd be more of a CRM on that at that point. So we're working toward that launch at the end of August, but we have a few things in the pipeline that we actually would like to work with TripleTen again with, if we can find a way to, keep working on other projects together. We think it's been really great so far.
Hey,
You'll have to really define
good job,
that.
Josh and team.
We still have to define those things. We are thinking about maybe a directory in the future, a place that these teachers and micro schools and charter schools of sort can basically sign up to a directory, not really a marketplace, but a place where they can kind of they can sit and be found. Part of software, we say be found, get booked, and a directory would be really helpful in that way. So we're looking to, define the requirements for that, but it definitely is open for conversation if TripleTen has a capacity for further projects in the future.
Oh man, that sounds like a really fun project. I can envision lots of fun options for filtering. Oh, lots of data sets there. Josh, in terms of like the project, I mean, obviously the project itself looks really cool, but I want to ask a super nerdy question around why you chose to use Storybook for all of those components and elements.
Yeah, I think so in this particular case, we weren't really building like an actual application like we have in the past. And so Storybook just kind of made sense as just a way to like showcase these components without actually building an application to use them. So it just kind of made sense.
I have just learned Storybook myself this year. A friend of mine at work, hey Wilkins, he brought it to our team, and it's been so cool to
it's a really awesome tool,
especially in that remote setting, right? So we all can see the things that we're working on, not just in a Figma. So it's been a lot of fun. In terms of portfolios, now I know that's something that a lot of students need, right? We spend all this time building these projects. How can the students that were on this team best display these pieces in their portfolio since it's part of a company?
Yeah, so if they wanted to, they could totally fork the repo and then make a GitHub pages for it. And you can actually deploy a build of Storybook as a GitHub pages site. And that'd be a
Sweet.
very simple, straightforward way to do it.
Oh man, that's super great. I know that is something that is going to be really setting them apart in terms of like the interview process, right? The fact that they have real experience working with Carlo and his company already.
Yeah, definitely.
So Josh, how overall, like you've seen quite a few of these projects. How satisfied are you with the team's output in terms of like what the deliverable here?
Oh, very. I think I mean, I hope edTonomy agrees, but I think this seems like a very usable project that they can actually probably put into production pretty quickly. It's the components that they built are very flexible, and they should be pretty easy to drag and drop into their code base. And we took special care to use the same tooling that edTonomy is already using. So you know, if they're already using Tailwind, it should just work nicely with the theme that the Tailwind theme that they've already got configured. Everything should just work. So I'm very pleased with how it turned out. And like Carlo said, it was super quick, and everything, you know, just happened very smoothly. I'm really pleased with how it went.
That's awesome. Was Tailwind something that the students have already, to this point in the bootcamp, have they already been exposed to that, or was that a piece of learning that they had to do kind of on the job?
Definitely on the job. It's not something that we cover in the core program, and typically, I mean, I've used it for previous iterations of apiary projects, and it's typically pretty easy for students to pick it up. You know, I've done these projects with Bootstrap and Tailwind before separately. I find that Tailwind is typically the easier of the two to pick up, and there's a lot less configuration involved.
Oh, for sure. But you know, again, in terms of real world progress and in terms of real world practice, this is definitely a skill that they should really highlight, because
Yeah,
that
definitely.
you know, I've definitely learned a whole lot of languages in a short period of time that, you know, I didn't cover in boot camp, but the learning process still continues.
Yeah, I like to include some kind of CSS framework in these projects usually. So it's generally there's some kind of new experience for them when it comes to CSS.
Oh,
Just because
fantastic.
I find that most companies are using some kind of framework these days, and it's good to have at least one under your belt.
Cool. So in terms of next steps, Carlo, like reaching out, is that a piece that you're thinking will be similarly like componentized, are you thinking, so that you guys can kind of drag and drop those elements? Or are you thinking that that directory might be like a standalone app? Or it could just be too soon. I get too excited about things and start thinking already.
No, yeah, I mean, these are things that we have to consider. It probably won't be in application, more so connected to our actual website and our landing page, rather than being a part of the paid application, more so that they can land on our site, join as a directory member, but they don't necessarily have to subscribe to the application itself should they not need it. But it's a good way that teachers know that they can, or educators know that they can be found through this directory should parents and students, which plenty of parents have actually landed on our site, asking for ways. We've gotten messages. My daughter needs help with literacy. Can you help us? You know, it's unfortunately not really like that, but a directory would help in that case. We can, at least tell that parent, hey, check out a directory. There's plenty of literacy specialists who are in our membership. Maybe one could help you there. So, those are things we have to think about. It's a very new piece or element of edTonomy that we're thinking about. So plenty of discussions that need to come before that gets kind of piecemealed, but looking forward to it.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's all the time we have for today, gentlemen. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you again, Carlo. Thank you again, Josh, so much for spending time this evening chatting with us and being present for the kind of world premiere that the team has been working on. I do want to say congratulations to all the participants, Q, Freddie. Chris, and then Victor. You guys did great work. I really want to say thank you guys. I know that while you're doing boot camp, it can be a lot to take on another thing, but you guys did stellar work. Each of you guys are going to receive an externship certificate that you'll be able, from TripleTen, that you'll be able to put on your LinkedIn profile page. So that will be something super amazing that you can highlight in your job search. If anybody watching wants to discuss the project or give feedback, please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, or you can go ahead and hop on our Discord channel if you're already a member of it, and the software engineering program. If you are interested as a company in joining us and being part of our externship program, please reach out to the TripleTen website. You'll see the contact information there. And if you have any other questions, we will check back in the comments. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.